All right, so today's topic was pitched to me by my friend Darren Hess. I think it's a great topic. I think it's going to bring a lot of light to some people and letting them know that, hey, you're not the only one, that went through it or struggling, and that hardships are going to be there. They're going to be there for your whole entire life. Some people go through a lot more than others, and sometimes you'll feel like it's not fair. This has got to be bull. This has got to be bullshit. Why am I going through it? And I'm just done. But I want to tell you that if you keep pushing forward, hopefully there will be a good side to it. There will be a good end to your struggle and your pain. Um, Letting people know, when I was active duty, I basically did 10 years of some change. I know it's not 20 years, I didn't do the whole whatever it is, but I did 10 years of some change, and I deployed a couple times. After my 2010 deployment, I dealt with a lot of things. I came back, and after losing numerous guys, I struggled with, you know, fear of what's going on in the world and all the different things. I basically, was up at nighttime, like seeing things. My wife basically was like, hey, you're basically get up out of bed and you're staring out the windows and stuff like that. And I used to self-medicate. I drank a lot of alcohol back then. I basically used it so I could numb the pain. I could not think about it, and I just wouldn't have to deal with it. Also, it helped me sleep, so I wouldn't have to basically have dreams. I'll just pass out. And the reason why I felt like I did that at a time was because of the fear of asking for help. I didn't want to reach out to, medical or anybody, because I felt like, hey, I was the only one going through it at a time. I must be weak. Must be something wrong with me, and I need to just suck it up and push through. And the reason being is because when you do ask for help in the military, or go to medical and say there's something wrong with you, you're labeled. People put a label on you, whether it be malingerer, whether it be weak, whether it be unfit, and that could follow you for the rest of your career. As a sergeant at a time, I felt like me basically going to ask for help would basically ruin my career. It would derail my career, and it would end quickly. And I wasn't willing to let that happen. So instead of dealing with my situations, I drank it away, and I just kept on throwing myself at work. Kept on finding things to keep myself busy. That way, I wouldn't have to think about it. But every time, it came to the anniversary of my guy's death, I drank a little bit more. I tried to do things to just keep my mind off of it. And that's what I did. I basically, when I did events, like basically runs and stuff like that, or I just drink. I just wouldn't deal with my family most of the time. I kind of just pushed myself away. And I did that for a very long time. I isolated myself from my wife and my kids, and I kind of pushed them to the back burner. And it didn't really help. Honestly, it made things worse, because I didn't really have anybody to talk to. I didn't have anybody to share my stress with or share my struggles with. And in the end, it actually ended up biting me in my ass. And hey, but I'm still here, and I still have my family, which I'm very thankful for. Um, then I remember back in 2014, I was told that, hey, it's time for you to basically start looking for a career change because you're no longer fit for duty. So I was working as an MCT instructor. I had really bad reaction to medication. Some bad stuff went down, and I ended up getting sent to medical for treatment. I was put on medication. I was sent to see a therapist, and I remember when this situation happened, I thought, good Lord, like this is it. I can't. There's no coming back from this. My life is ruined. I'm gonna lose my family. I'm gonna lose my job, and I'm gonna end up on the road, and my kids are gonna be basically suffering. But lo and behold, I still have a house. My kids still have their life very well intact, and I'm hoping that I can continue that. What I did was I basically, thought about what I was fighting for. Um, I thought about my kids. I thought about what it would be like if I wasn't here for them, and that kind of helped push me through. I kept on persevering. I kept on pushing forward with more and more things. I'm not gonna say that there isn't struggles that came up that tried to derail me. They did. Like I honestly fell away so many times because I got over overwhelmed with so many things, and I just couldn't deal with it. But I just kept on thinking about my kids and that they need me more than anything else in the world, and I have to push forward for them. So being told that I was no longer, fit for duty, and I needed to basically think about transition out, was very difficult because I felt like I was a great Marine. I was great at my job, but realistically, I had a lot of things that I needed to deal with that I didn't deal with, and it really wasn't doing good for me or my family. Then when I was put on medication and I started seeing a therapist, instantly I was pulled away from my work. I was no longer able to be a combat instructor. I was no longer able to be around weapons or anything like that. And being told that and being put in that situation where everybody kind of looked down at you, and everybody kind of gave you shit, like your peers will give you shit, like mines did. A lot of them basically thought I was malingering, I was a piece of shit, and this and that. It really kind of had me sit back and be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I'm better than this. And I want to just be like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing's wrong with me, and just try to go back to work. But the damage was done, and I had to push forward with it, and I had to deal with the situation. And like I said, like I kept on using my kids as my my hope and my push to keep on pushing through. I kept on finding things to keep myself busy. Like I started surfing, I started golfing and stuff like that, and it helped. While I was going through all this stuff, I definitely thought, this was it. I can't deal with this. This is just too much. Nobody else is going through this, and it wasn't fair. But I made it on the other side. I ended up at Wounded Warrior Battalion, and I'm not going to say Wounded Warrior Battalion was the answer to everything because it really wasn't. I stayed at Wounded Warrior for about 2 years, and while I was at Wounded Warrior, when I first arrived there, I was basically put on the set medication. It's not medication specifically for me. It's medication to deal with PTSD, anxiety, depression, and all the different sleep issues, whatever it was. And it wasn't ideal for me. Some of the medication helped, some of it didn't. So I'm not going to tell anybody that, hey, medication is going to be the number one answer, or seeing a therapist is going to be the number one answer, because it's not. You have to find other things in there that is worthwhile for you to push through and actually deal with the issue that you're dealing with and keep on going. When I was at Wounded Warriors, I dealt with therapists that basically didn't really care for the Marines very much. They basically were pretty much looking down at you. Every time you came and you got help, they thought you were a piece of shit or you were malingering. And there were military members there that literally were malingering. They weren't there to get help. They were there to get benefits. They were there making up stories to try and pad their benefits so they could get out and get retired. But there was guys that actually were going through there, like myself, that were going through serious struggles. And when I asked for help, these people would just basically lump me with everybody else that weren't really struggling with anything. So me getting put on medication that they were putting on, it wasn't working for me as well as it was working for them. And so that caused a severe issue. I started having issues with my wife a lot more. I basically got derailed again. I started basically just going out, partying, and doing stupid things that I would never have done if I was around my family. And again, I looked at my life and I was like, dude, like this is gonna basically be it. Like I'm freaking done. And I was able to recollect myself, throw myself, like I said, into golf, weightlifting, and also surfing. Just use those as my outlets for my stress and my stuff. Don't just isolate myself in my room, but find things to keep myself busy. And then so Wounded Warriors wasn't exactly the ideal place for getting better, but it did help facilitate some of my care, and it did help facilitate me out of the military. There was a lot of things there that I did not like and I didn't want to deal with, but that's going to be another video. Then getting ready to transition out back to my family. That was like the biggest fear of mine. Coming back home to my wife and my kids and starting the role as a dad. I don't know how to be a dad. I wasn't raised with my dad. My dad pretty much left me when I was younger and everything like that. So I didn't really know what it meant to be a dad. And my whole entire life with them has been me going to work and coming back home, putting them to bed, feeding them, whatever. And that was the most I had interaction with them. Now I had to be a part of their life every day. I had to wake them up, get them ready for school, pack lunches, deal with, arguments that they're going on, trying to parent them and stuff like that. And that is like a nightmare because going in the military and dealing with Marines is completely different. You go to work, you tell them what to do, they do what you tell them to do. Those are your subordinates. They do what you tell you to do. Your children are not your subordinates. All right, they're actually your whole meaning for living. Like, you brought them in the world, so your job is to raise them as a parent, and that is a lot of work for anybody. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, you go from dealing with millions of troops to just your family. It's not that easy. It really is very difficult because at work you use anger, you use yelling, you use swearing, you use all these different things. With your kids, you can't use that. You have to come down to their level. You have to understand them. You have to be empathetic with them. You have to be, you have to be a parent. You have to actually raise them in a way. Marines, you just tell them what to do, they go do it. So that's easy. Even when dealing with my spouse, that's never an easy thing because I basically used to just go to work, do my thing, and she'd do her thing at home. Now I live with her 24/7. I see her every day, and we have to try and reintegrate as a whole to basically parent our kids and raise them in the proper way, and that's very difficult. And so I had so much fear about that. I had so much anxiety about that. I basically thought, me putting on medication, if I was numb, I wouldn't basically go off the handle and flip out and do stupid things. So that's what I basically fed into. I sat there and I just dealt with it because I thought that's what I needed to do. Take the medication, do it, but it didn't really help. I came home and I had to readjust my thinking. I had to find different things that could help me, and I found the gym. When I got back here and I got out back in 2016, it was a nightmare. Like, I just sat in the house and I was depressed, I was mad, I was angry, I was miserable. But going to the gym, I finally found an outlet that could help me. I still go to therapists every other week, and I talk to them, but it doesn't do what everybody thinks it does. Talking to a therapist is not easy because I don't really want to talk to them. I don't want to divulge my whole entire life for them because I know most of them don't really care. You have some therapists that are invested in their patients, but most aren't. And that's a very hard thing to find. Then not having a job. Like, me not having a job, yes, I'm receiving VA benefits and stuff like that, but not having a job is a very difficult thing to take as a head of the household male. Not feeling like you're worth anything, worrying about, if something comes up, what exactly going to happen. I've had that happen to me so many times, where their car started having issues, the house needing this, the kids needing it for school. It happens so much. And it's very hard because when you're in the military, you don't really deal with all that stuff. I mean, unless you're like, you own your own house and stuff like that, a lot of times you're shielded from that. But when you're on the outside now and you're dealing with those difficulties every day and they're coming up, it literally will take a toll on you and it makes you want to quit. But you have to push forward for them, your kids, or even just for people that are in your life that are invested in you. Because if you take yourself out of the picture, that's not going to fix the problem. That's just going to basically transfer the issue onto them, and they're going to be the ones struggling with it. The not having a job and the financial thing is a very big deal because so many guys are afraid of, ending up on the side of the road, being homeless and struggling. And, they don't want their families to be hurt and they don't want their families to go through that. So it will take a toll on you, but you just got to find what's out there, whether reaching out to a friend or whether basically be some kind of activity or something like that, or putting yourself out there in an uncomfortable situation, hopefully that it benefits you. I'm not saying do anything crazy. I'm just saying, push through because at the end of the day, you're here to support your family. That's what your new purpose in life is. So you just got to push through for it. And the biggest thing I want guys to understand and girls to understand is it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very, very difficult. All these things adds up. It takes a toll on a person. It took a toll on me. It really did. I honestly, and many times going through all this situation from it basically being, going through deployments, coming back from them and realizing that I have all my limbs and some of my friends don't, or some of my friends are dead and I'm not dead, basically being told that I'm no longer basically fit for duty and being processed out of the military, that literally made me feel like shit and it made me want to quit. But I didn't. I kept on pushing forward for my kids. And then, getting out and not really having a job or anything lined up and worrying about how I was going to financially support my family, that literally almost killed me because I didn't know what I was going to do. Lucky for me, I was actually medically retired. So, I mean, that's good, but it's not always the case for everybody. And then last is just being there for your family. People need to understand that when a guy or a girl gets out of the military and they're there 24/7 with their family now and they weren't before, it is not easy. It's not an easy transition at all. It's very difficult because you're going from worrying about basically, your Marines and that job and, being able to yell, scream, treat people like shit to basically, actually have to show emotions, show things that you've never shown before and deal with things you've never dealt with before. There's no actual manual for that. And a lot of people will judge you because, hey, why can't you do this? It's not easy. And especially people that go through very traumatic things in the military, it is very hard for them. And I want to let them know that, hey, there are people out here struggling just like you. You just have to find that thing that helps you out the most. Mine was my kids. Mine was me looking at the bright side. Even now, I struggle with things. I struggle with basically financial issues. I struggle with basically being a parent. But those are my new struggles. Whereas before I had so much more, now it's basically this that I just have to try and push through for them. And hopefully it will be better in the future than it is right now.